So there's a definite link between Freemasonry and communist philosophical thought patterns.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And we're going to see now this is according to the book by Dr. James Wardner, Unholy Alliances. He says that Mr. Jim Shaw, former 33rd degree Mason who left Masonic Lodge, says that when he became a 33rd degree Mason, when he was initiated in Washington, D.C., at the House of the Temple, there was someone there, an internationally prominent evangelist, was there to help him through his initiation, and present there, who was none other than Billy Graham.
So one of the biggest evangelists, Bible preaching religious figures, Protestant figures, is a Freemason.
Well, according to that book, that's what it says. So that's what he put in the book. That's what he claims Jim Shaw said who was there. So that's interesting. Another person who I hope if he is a Mason, he's come out of the lodge. But Pat Robertson, there's a Masonic symbol called the lion's paw. It's like this, and that's a Masonic symbol. And Pat Robertson, this is the cover of the Time magazine, February 17, 1986 issue. He's giving what looks to be the Masonic sign called the lion's paw. Pat Robertson also, in his book The Millennium, has a point within a circle at virtually every page of the book. And the point within the circle is definite occultic language for sun worship, and it was also chosen for the symbol of Illuminati. David Yallop, in his book In God's Name, an investigation of the murder of Pope John Paul I, he builds a case that the P2 Masons were involved in the murder of John Paul I, who served 33 days. We'll see a little later in the tape how significant and important the number 33 is to the Masons. Yallop says that the P2 Masons have interlocks with the Mafia. Maybe that's because both groups have the same founder, Giuseppe Mazzini. And Mazzini said, quote, "Our final end is that of Voltaire and the French Revolution, the destruction forever of Catholicism," end quote. Some other churches, such as the Church of Mormon, Joseph Smith, the founder of the Church of Mormon, was murdered by the Masons on June 27, 1844. The reason why is because Joseph Smith, who was a Mason, revealed the secrets of the Masonic Lodge in the Temple Endowment Ceremony. It's a ceremony in the Mormon Church, and they have the aprons on now still, and so forth. They're very similar to Freemasonry. The Masons also use a Masonic timetable system. They don't use AD. They use AL. AL is their standard of calendar system. It means Anno Lucis, and that means in the year of light. It could also be interpreted to mean in the year of Lucifer. So 4000 BC would be 0 AL, and 2000 AD will be 6000 AL, or 6,000 years since Lucifer was cast from heaven. And that system lines up because this is a picture of a Distinguished Achievement Medal awarded to Siegfried Kleineck, the current Sovereign Grand Commander of Freemasonry, on May Day, 5990 AL, which is 1990 AD. And you can also find AL on the cornerstone, at the engraved date of any cornerstone laid by the Masons. And I just mentioned May Day on that coin. May Day is very important for the Masons. We'll find out a little later why. The Masons definitely believe in symbology, numerology, and they have a fascination with the number 33. I believe they had major events happen on the 33rd degree latitude of the map. Masonic Encyclopedia says that Charleston, South Carolina was selected as the first home of the Council of the 33rd degree Masonic Lodge. And Charleston, South Carolina is right under the 33rd degree latitude of the map. Other major events that have happened on the 33rd degree latitude, it's where the first nuclear bomb was dropped, tested, Trinity Site, New Mexico. And the monument chosen to commemorate this site was an obelisk, which is a Masonic symbol, a phallic symbol. The 33rd degree latitude also passes over both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. These sites were the place where the first two bombs, atomic bombs, were dropped at the end of World War II. It's a known fact of history that we didn't have to drop the bombs because Japan was trying to surrender, but the bombs were dropped anyway. And these two cities were where the two largest population of Catholics were. The man who dropped these bombs on these Catholics was 33rd degree Freemason Harry Truman. Truman was a 32nd degree Mason when he dropped the bombs in October of 1945. He became a 33rd degree Mason. And Truman said, quote, "Although I hold the highest civil honor in the world, I have always regarded my rank and title as a past Grand Master of the Masons as the greatest honor that has ever come to me," end quote. But the most astonishing incident that has occurred on the 33rd degree latitude of the map is it passes over the city of Dallas, Texas, where on November the 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated.
In Dealey Plaza,
Where the president was shot, the president passed an obelisk that is located right in front of the school book depository on the street, Elm Street, where the president was shot. There's a small plaque which has always been on that obelisk saying this, quote, "Within this small park was built the first fraternal lodge in the state of Texas." So the park in which JFK was shot was the place where the first Masonic lodge was established in Texas. Now, there are two views of history. There's the accidental view of history, which people believe that there's no plan when major events come about. There's nobody plotting or planning to bring about something when some major events happen. And then there's the planned view of history, the conspiratorial view of history, that people plan to have certain things happen to bring about something. And obviously, it's very clear, I think, that history has been guided by the planned view of history, that people have definitely planned to bring about something. And in fact, FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, said if anything happens in politics, you can bet it was planned that way. The Oklahoma bombing as well as Waco happened on April 19th. According to the satanic calendar of high days, April 19th inaugurates a period of blood sacrifice to the beast, culminating on May 1st each year. May 1st is called May Day to the communists. And May 1st is the day when the Illuminati was started and why there's always a large military celebration in Russia. Now, going back to Freemasonry, modern Freemasonry is given its name by Joseph Levy on August 25th, 1716, and approved on June 24th, 1717 by the first official Freemasonic lodge. They chose Masonry because it would act as a thick veil over the secret origin of their foundation. But what we know as Freemasonry came most recently from the Order of the Knights Templar movement in the 1300s. Actually came before that, in the year 43 AD, from a group called the Mysterious Force. That's actually where Freemasonry came from. And this following information is from a book called The Origin of Masonry. The Mysterious Force was established in 43 AD, and it started when a counselor to King Herod Agrippa came to him and complained that the followers of Jesus had a mysterious force, and that they should establish their own mysterious force to combat this Christian mysterious force. And the purpose of this group was to attack the teachings of Jesus and in order to preserve Judaism. King Herod Agrippa said, quote, "We will use the hammer because it was used to nail Jesus' hands and feet. Every session will be opened by striking the hammer 3 times, end quote." And you notice that judges have the hammer to bring order to the court. King Herod Agrippa said, quote, "We will make degrees. These will be 33, symbolizing the age of the impostor." And on November the 43 AD, the first official session was held in the first temple of Jerusalem, which was a basement in the palace of King Herod Agrippa. The meeting of the mysterious force was always held in the temple. That was the name, the temple. And in 1717, modern Freemasonry changed it to the name of lodge. To prove that Masonry is of Jewish origin, we'll hear the following quotes. The Rabbi Isaac Weiss wrote in 1855, quote, "Masonry is a Jewish institution, whose history, degrees, assignments, signs, and explanations are of Jewish nature from beginning to end," end quote. The Jewish historian Bernard Lazare wrote, quote, "It is evident that there are only Jews and Kabbalistic Jews in Masonry's origin," end quote. And finally, Theodor Herzl, the founder of Zionism in 1897 in Switzerland, said, quote, "Masonic lodges are established all over the world to offer us help to achieve our independence. Those pigs and non-Jewish Masons will never understand the final objects of Masonry," end quote.
So they're just useful idiots.
That's it. That's exactly what's happening. Now, to find out what Jews believe in, then, we have to go to what they regard as their authority in religion. The Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 12, we read, quote, "For the majority of Jews, the Talmud is still the supreme authority in religion," end quote. So, and the Talmud is the written word of the oral tradition of the Pharisees. The Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, page 637, says, quote, "The ultimate authority for orthodoxy is the Babylonian Talmud," end quote. And the Jews have embraced the Talmud for 20 centuries. Now, some of the things that are in the Talmud, we're going to repeat just a few of them. I'm not saying all Jews know what's in the Talmud or all Jews support what's in the Talmud, what I'm about to state. But nevertheless, it's there, and we have to repeat what's and expose what's in the Talmud. In the Talmud, the Catholic Holy Day is called the Day of Evil. A Christian church is called a house of evil. It is permitted for Christians to be defrauded and deceived. All Christians, including the best of them, should be killed. These are just some of the things. That we don't have time to go through all the Antichrist parts of the Talmud. It's unbelievable what's in that book. Now, the Jewish Encyclopedia gives a person a definite view of perhaps hundreds of rabbinic statements on subjects, giving accurate summaries of what the Talmud generally teaches. Page 619 of the Jewish Encyclopedia, Gentiles are not called men but barbarians. Page 172 of the Jewish Encyclopedia, it says that Christ is in hell, punished with boiling hot excrement. And this is what we have here. And basically, the Talmudic Jews are the main force bringing about, the main power. There are many tentacles of this arm, but the main power is the Talmudic Jews are bringing about this Antichrist kingdom. Also in the Jewish Encyclopedia, there's no criticism of socialism or communism, and in fact, they say that they're instrumental in founding and making socialism flourish. In fact, Jewish international bankers financed the Russian Revolution. And now we want to look at some, and in Russia itself, you talk about the people leaving Russia before, say, the 1980s and Glasnost and Perestroika. 15 years of hard labor was considered a light sentence for a Gentile caught trying to escape Russia. That was before the 1980s. In Israel, now let's take Israel, under Israel's present anti-missionary law, 5738, passed on December 25th, 1977, if a Christian is caught giving a New Testament to an Israeli, he may face a jail term of up to 5 years. Notice the date on that law, December 25th, Christmas. Now let's take a few Jewish publications from the 20s and the 30s to find out what the Jews really believe. Okay, we're going to go back to prove that we're not just bringing up some current day wild wacko Jewish publications. March 15, 1923 issue of Jewish World stated, quote, fundamentally Judaism is anti-Christian, end quote.
So you have a link between Judaism, Freemasonry, and communism as all going against the Catholic Church.
Absolutely. No question about it. In the New York Jewish National Day, December 14, 1935, it says, quote, the public schools must be clear of Christmas carols and other Christmas influence. We want all this Christmas propaganda stopped, end quote. We read in the New York Jewish paper Freiheit on January 10, 1937, quote, according to the Jewish religion, the Pope is the enemy of the Jewish people by the very fact that he is head of the Catholic Church. The Jewish religion is opposed to Christianity and to the Catholic Church in particular, end quote. And they also have watchdog groups like the ADL. They were caught out in San Francisco spying on the people and so forth. We don't do them any charity by saying they're doing a great job, and this is ridiculous. They've rejected Jesus Christ, and our Lord says in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's why they don't worship the one true God, and that was very clear by what our Lord stated to them in John chapter 8, where he said, if Abraham were God were your father, you would receive me. But God is not your father's the devil, John 8:44. So they don't worship the one true God. This is ridiculous. So we have to hope, and it's my charity. I have no hatred. It's not based on emotion. This is facts. I'm bringing this very clear what I'm stating here. And I truly wish for the conversion of all Jewish people to the one true faith. I wish for eternal life for all of them. But they have to be exposed to what they're doing and how they're attacking the one true church and God himself, the true God, and helping bring about this Antichrist kingdom and world. That's what's happening. And basically this gets back to the prophecy of Isaiah. He said, in Isaiah it says, woe to that sinful nation, of people loaded with iniquity, a wicked seed, ungracious children. They have forsaken the Lord. They have blasphemed the Holy One of Israel. When you stretch forth your hands, I will turn away my eyes from you. When you multiply prayer, I will not hear, for your hands are filled with blood. Isaiah 1:4-15. And this, of course, refers to in the New Testament, Matthew 27:25, where the Jews said, let his blood be upon us and our children. So that's what we have now. But they are definitely coming to power, there's no question about it. And also, if you look on products now to show the amount of power that they're getting, you'll see on almost all your products, the letter U on your product stands for the Union of Orthodox Rabbis, and the K you'll see on many of your products stands for kosher. And this is basically a food tax. It's put on companies. From what I've read and been told, these companies have to pay for these symbols to be put on their products, and if they don't put them on their products, they'll be boycotted. And it's like hundreds of millions of dollars each year the rabbis take in from this. It's unbelievable.
So they can't even use their products in the distribution chain without putting the U and K.
Well, I don't know if they absolutely have to have it, but all I'm saying is that from what I've read and seen, they'll be boycotted if they don't do that, you know.
Right.
And, now, going back to what all this Freemasonry is rooted in, it's rooted in the Jewish Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is the Hebrew word for received tradition. The Jewish Kabbalah is a medieval Jewish book of occult philosophy and magic based on mystical interpretations of the Old Testament. The Kabbalah is important with magicians, sorcerers, witches, Satanists, as well as Masonic philosophers. And all the things that I just mentioned that are rooted, talked about Freemasonry, gets back and is rooted in the Jewish Kabbalah. The book Morals and Dogma has 65 pages dealing with the Kabbalah. Page 741 of Morals and Dogma says this, quote, "Masonry is a search for light. That search leads directly back to the Kabbalah," end quote. Page 770 has a picture of the Kabbalah. Pike also said, quote, "All a Masonic organization's secrets and symbols are borrowed from the Kabbalah." So the importance of what I'm saying is I've shown throughout this video that their main attack has been against the Catholic Church. And people have to do the right thing in these critical times because the time is running out.
You know, brother, we want to thank you very much for what you've shown us. It's staggering, the amount of information, not just what was in this tape, but also what was in the other tape, Biblical End Times Prophecies. And it's clear that we're in a very, very critical time in our lives, and that the decision to follow Christ is now more important than we ever thought before.
Absolutely.